Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Over coming to you with another bit of Steel Division Normandy 44. Now, this map right here is Pegasus Bridge. In this particular game between Loka Festivalo as the 101st Airborne and Tigga as the 3rd Fallschirm was the tail end of a tournament that happened, I think, was it late, a couple days ago? Very, very recent. But I kind of picked this game because, hey, first of all, it's 2 airborne divisions, and second of all, these guys are at the top of the game as of right now. I think Tigga's top 10, top 15. I might be a teensy bit wrong on that, but regardless, both fairly skilled players. Adding in right now, like I said before, the fact that we have a couple of paratrooping divisions, I'm kind of excited to see how this goes. Now, a little bit of history before we get forward into this. Loka Festivalo, playing the 101st Airborne, I had no idea, honestly, that the Airborne commander, Maxwell Taylor, actually was a secret agent. He was a diplomat. He was this. He was this. He was that. It was actually, if you look into his biography is amazingly interesting. It's really, really cool. So if you guys want to do a little more history checking, definitely a very bizarre personage inside the Allied war machine. Now, Pegasus Bridge has all this aircraft, all these skeletons, let's call them, on the field. But ironically enough, there's not a lot of bridges to really speak of. At least if there are, they're not really usually a contention point. Now, you will probably see a fair amount of fighting around this kind of crossroads area right here, this town by itself. Controlling this area won't be a massive priority, but at the same time, you can tell that if you can control the arterial, you can start to break into your opponent's rear lines. But fighting among the forests and in the orchards are hard enough, let alone trying to work your way through all the town's buildings right here. But it does look like we're going to see a fairly widespread start coming out for the 101st. We have some infantry, AT guns, and at least a machine gun, it looks like that, over here behind this eastern arterial. A couple of machine guns and some leader infantry. I wonder if that'll be Lieutenant Winters. My guess is no. And I do love the fact that they give that nod to them, to the commanders right there. There's more infantry as well as another 37mm coming on in behind a jeep. And then mortars out to the extreme left, which is an interesting decision. I'm kind of wondering if he's going to stick that mortar behind this forest right here and protect it using this infantry. Maybe. It's possible. I don't know 100% on that one. Now, the 3rd Fallschirm, these guys don't have quite the same kind of storied reputation, but the commander actually was a commander before the Luftwaffe was even formed. But that's another story for another time altogether. We're going to see him bringing up some light anti-tank with some infantry on the right side as well. So kind of mirroring the opposite side for the 101st. Tons of infantry, though. Be ready to boil on out and see where all these guys are going to head out. In the middle, we're going to get some more, actually, probably the lightest vehicle on the map right now. Yes, here we go. So where's that Panzer going to be going? He's looking to control this position right here. Interesting spot for him. Definitely has a lot of opportunity for surprising enemy troops. And on his extreme left, he's just packing one single machine gun. And I'm not 100% sure where that machine gun will be going. My guess is, if he's lucky, he might be able to place it right on this forest area. We'll be able to control this wide open field as well as locking down the approach here. But the problem with that, oh no, where's he sending him? Oh no, okay, he's sending him back here. Okay, that's a pretty interesting decision. That's kind of cool. Alright, so initial moves coming on out. Anti-tank guns, of course, scurrying on forwards, trying to get these teensy tiny lines of sight into all these vital areas here. Ooh, and this AT gun already sees its first target and completely and totally doesn't get a chance to fire on it. Now this LG-40, this guy's kind of interesting. So it's an 800 range, kind of like foot mortar. But you know what? Let's not focus on that right now. Instead, we're getting a lot of action over here instead. M1919s are setting up in these houses and pretty decent lines of sight into the town. But the Germans have controlled the initial engagement, I would argue, throwing tons and tons of firepower out at these paratroopers. And I'm kind of wondering, how much does Loka Festivalo actually see? Well, he sees an absolute ton of material here. He doesn't see so much on the flanks, but he's not really concerned about moving forward with that either. Tigga, on the other hand, he is similarly clueless, and we're seeing the first supply coming on in. Another Panzer coming over to the German right, and I'm wondering if the... Nope, just more kind of anti-tank coming on in. So he sees that he's got to go and take out, engage that Panzer. Problem is that it's going to be really, really difficult to get any sort of fire lane on top of it. Moving close enough, we'll put him in range of this house here, these charging Jaegers, and indeed, these Jaegers are kind of swinging around to the left and maybe even put pressure there. Unfortunately, by the way, we will see there is no Lieutenant Winters. However, we are going to see a P-51 Mustang coming on in, dropping down rounds, and the bombs explode, pinning that mortar, but doesn't take him on out. And I'm kind of curious. Okay, so we are going to see some advancing engineers. There's airborne engineers coming on forwards. M2HB slotting up, and there's M3 just kind of hanging in the rear. No real need to kind of push forward now, is there? And there is that kind of indirect firing from the LG-40. Now, I know some people are going to say it's not technically a indirect weapons platform, but it's kind of one of those things that kind of defies description. I admit I have not heard much about that weapons system before this game came out, so I will admit my own knowledge about the technical specifications is a little bit limited. Meanwhile, on the Allied left, this mortar is not going to have a whole lot to do. He's got the opportunity to drop rounds if anyone gets a little bit more aggressive. But as of right now, it seems the Germans are content just to throw troops into this meat grinder in the center part of the field. And that's going to go decently well. As you can see right here, his AT guns have been flanked one after another. They're getting just pinned or pushed back like crazy. These Jaegers having slid through this orchard and coming down to the south in a very, very excellent tactical move. And Tigga is making some great inroads here. Question is whether or not Loka Festivalo's troops might get close enough to boil down. No, they don't. Okay. And the Allied center collapses. More infantry coming on in for the 101st, but they don't have anything to hold on to. Engineers surrendering. Anti-tank guns going down. And I think Tigga has just exploded this middle position. If it takes out this space right here, I would say the entire Airborne collapses there. Now, this Panzer L6I is very, very low on ammunition. This Beretta 35 autocannon is, as you can see here, an Italian by making. But the Allies don't have much in the way of anti-tank to oppose it. And that continues to be quite an issue. WC-25 coming on and is going to get pelted. Maybe even a... Okay, no. We're going to see a quick burst of fire here, but no. Instead, the airborne rifles are trying to engage them, but they are out in the open. You can see right there, as soon as this tank comes online, it's just going to blow them to pieces. And pinned and surrender, and that was a new squad coming on in, so that's quite a shame there. But yet, despite all of the success, Tigga has not gained 50% of the map. Mustangs coming on in, just dropping rounds like crazy. ME-109s coming in, trying to take out said Mustangs. And engineers trooping in, trying to very, very quickly get some sort of firepower, but getting blown away and forced to surrender all too quickly. Interestingly, the Germans over here on their left are just sitting with an MG-34 hanging out. Not moving forward at all, just making sure there's no adventurism coming out from the Allies. And indeed, considering his controlling area, that's a pretty good position. Only way we can get any better is if he kind of comes up to the edge of this forest, and there's really no need to do that at the moment. And Tigga has gained back to a 50-50 split. You will notice that the 101st Airborne is going to be better supplied in the early part of this game, but Tigga doesn't seem too upset about that. He's just continuing to lay down curtains of fire, destroying things right, left, and center, and just chewing all the infantry that comes his way. Another push coming on in. We're going to see some really kind of aggressive attempts coming from the 101st up the central arterial, but they have to turn this around. They have to be able to push back this control. They will be able to do that rather easily as these trucks troop in, but it's not a long-term advantage, especially as more Germans coming up into the center part of the map. We'll see this shoved back out, I imagine. Alright, take a quick look over at Tigga's view. He doesn't know exactly what's going on, but he does know that more material is coming on in, and now this 37mm is going to get taken out as these Jaegers shift over to their right. Loka Festivalo has absolutely no idea what's going on. And that's terrifying in many different cases. What we are going to finally see, though, is some true armored vehicles, like Command M22 coming in to support the ailing American position. The leader that was trooping on in, well, he's gone, folks. He's never coming back. And now we have a Pac 41. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Another weapon system that I might be wrong, but I think was kind of modified, redeployed, reimagined, I think, for more effective usage by the Fallschirm divisions of Germany. Might be wrong, though, so please forgive me if I am. Ay, ay, ay. Engineers are trooping to the front, though. These guys do have napalm. They do have nice Garans and nice Thompsons, but they got it close enough, and that seems to be an almost Brobdingnagian task. That means a giant, giant task here. Mortar dumping out right here in the middle part of this road. So God willing, there's no indirect fire in return, and there might be, as this 81mm just barely doesn't have him in range. And there we go, never mind. Pac 41, can he see this tank? No, he can't. But the M22 is not a particularly heavy vehicle. And was that a Faust? No, it was not a Faust. Okay, I was going to say that's an awful long range. And Tigga's going to fall back in kind of reluctant respect, I would say. All the while, his troops continue to find porous gaps in the American lines. And I don't think an M19 is going to be enough to hold this back. Yes, it will suppress and probably even pin these Jaegers as they shift from this German center to the German right. But this Panzer L6 might still be able to troop on in. I think Pac 41's got... Okay, yep. Pac 41's got line of sight on the M22, pours one round into it, and it explodes. The mortar, in the meantime, is completely pinned, so no help there. And Tigga just deals very, very skillfully that advance. Now, we are approaching Phase B, and that's not a great position if the 101st is behind right now. Maybe not in tickets, but you can definitely say that considering the current positions, just the number of troops overall, 101st is getting spanked pretty hardcore. Now the question is, where is this bad boy coming? Okay, he's coming after this... Oh no, he's coming after the M1919. Guns ho. This poor guy is getting worried, he's gonna get shaken, and not a great place for him to be either. Panther troops on in might be able to encourage him to leave. MG34 as well has some probably decent line of sight once he gets around this little hedgerow here. Now, unfortunately, despite the early advance that we saw out of the P-51s, we haven't seen the P-51s making anything more than a single gun run. As we're going into Phase B, the Fallschirm get a little bit more deadly. Not much, mind you. Phase C is when they really started cranking to high gear with the addition of all those Stugs. But there is some potential armor that might be brought on in. But the fight seems to be shifting over to the Allied left and the German right. And here comes a Focke-Wulf. He's got that massive, what is it, an SC-500. Okay, so this is a 500-pound bomb coming on in. Heck, might even be a 500-kilogram bomb. Frankly, I'm not sure how they qualified here. And there goes that poor 37mm pop gun. In the meantime, ME-109 is just making strafing runs like crazy, and the Allies can't do anything about it. Engineers going down. This mortar's trying hard to throw up any sort of firepower, any sort of smoke before they get taken out, but not going to be simple. ME-109 making another run over here at this M2HB, and finally, at long last, one of them should probably get forced away. I believe that will be the case there. Another AT gun coming over to the Allied left, but the Germans have completely turned this into a battle of the Bulge again. Pouring through the center. These guns in the back kind of hanging out, just doing their thing. And this MG34 continues just to hang out as well. So I'm wondering, will we see these Jaegers push over down the road to isolate the airborne position or not? My guess is probably no, but it would be kind of interesting nonetheless. M2HB, I'm guessing, coming on in. M1919 seems a little bit unaggressive, and this house might be... Okay, so this house would be a good position. It will allow him to control the road approach for the Germans there. That being said, that's not where the major concern should be, I think, in my mind. Meanwhile, another heavy machine gun pouring fire into these Jaegers. These Jaegers are running pretty low on their LMG ammunition. And, yep, we're going to see this L6 should be able to take out the MG in a fairly short order. There it goes. These rifles might not have the range on it, but this 57mm will. Thought maybe we were going to see a Zook round coming out towards that Panzer, but no, that's not going to happen. Instead, we'll see a couple of Kubel machine guns coming on in. These guys are just really sitting here for long-range support. As of right now, not a whole lot needs to be done for the Germans. They are up in tickets. And will continue to be up in tickets. I'm not sure they're going to be able necessarily to push for that desired 58%. Certainly not for 65 or 75. But it is possible. Another anti-air platform coming on out, desperately trying to throw up air cover against any kind of more predation by the Luftwaffe. And where's that other PL6? Okay, so there's been no supply truck coming on in. And indeed, we've seen an attack beacon coming up from loka festivalo. Not 100% sure why he's throwing an attack beacon when he's the only guy on the map, but we'll see, I'm sure. Jaegers coming under fire from, an M2HB. And Germans bringing in their own anti-air platform. So while the center looks hard-pressed, I think we're going to see ourselves a rotation by the Germans. And yes, here it comes. They're just trying to throw down a bunch of infantry over here to pressure, take out this M2HB pretty darn quick. So 3, 2, 1. Yep, Pioneers coming on in. These guys have these Gebaute Ladungs, bundle grenades. And they are going to be quite deadly if they can get close enough, and I think they will. 3, 2, 1, and grenade up. M2HB manages to go and hop out and hop back in. But here comes the Strom Pioneers, and I don't think this machine gun is long for this world. Aiming, firing, that guy is roasted and toasted, and he is gone. So it gets worse and worse for the Americans. Machine gun thrown over to the left, as well as some more infantry coming to the right. But all of this just cannot be stopped. These Pioneers are just doing great, great work. The Strom Pioneers might be able to get in and behind this 37mm, take that out, and close out the pocket on the M2HB. Well, these engineers, are they going to get pressured out? No, not yet. Instead, first is that 37mm, and that will probably be enough there. Focke-Wulf coming in, explodes the 37mm, and jeez Louise. The Me-109 is just making sure they have some nice ground support and trying to intercept that Thunderbolt. Fortunately, we're going to come under some Bofors fire, and that was pretty darn good there. Another Bofors thrown over here to the west. I'm surprised the Allies didn't put it on the right-hand side to give themselves some manner of air cover. And we're going to see the price of that coming on right about now. Engineers surrounded. M2HB falling back. I am very, very impressed that they haven't already just completely fallen apart. Both Me-109s have kind of fallen around different areas. One Stug G coming on in. This guy is going to be pretty darn effective, I would say, as long as he survives this 57mm. The P-47 drops rounds down on top of this MG-34, takes it on out. But that's kind of like trying to save one precious memento from a fiery house. It seems almost impossible at this point. Trucks coming in to come after this M2HB, who cannot see his death coming a mile away. And indeed, we're going to see the PaK-41, able to just control this arterial. And with the Allies unable to approach any further, I don't know what really can be done to stabilize their position. It's still another 3 minutes before tanks coming really on in. And yep, here it comes. So, they are paratroopers. They are meant to be surrounded. But these Jaegers, disheartened as they are still not going to be able to fight off all this infantry all at once. The pocket is closed out against these engineers. Jaegers will be able to put fire into them, but they have no LMG ammo left, and that is still something that's very worthwhile for them. 2 squads of Jaegers getting it done. Stroke sitting back. He's not going to see a whole lot. I think he's afraid of this 57mm, and he really should be. This thing's got pretty good armor piercing, especially against his front armor. A lighter Stug. And a Jeep coming on in. Okay, that's a kind of a humorous idea. Pack 41's going to get pinned down and probably taken out here. But he will remove the last few rounds of ammunition from this Bofors before that happens, I think. Tigga on the brink of getting that 58%. Looks like he's going to try to do that right now. He's throwing a bunch more infantry. Where is that recon going? Okay, interesting. So the recon's coming out over here. So I think he's trying to insert himself in the slot between the American position. And I believe he'll be able to do that rather easily. Okay. So engineers were coming on in, but I don't think they're going to be able to increase their position any. Especially you consider to see that this light gun is starting to fire rounds like crazy in at the engineers. And while this M2HB is putting some hurt over on this Pack 41, this thing really just has to slide just behind these trees, and there he is. He's now safe in the M2HB. And that's just wonderful right there. And this Pack, before he goes down, looks like he just was able to explode an advancing American unit. Now, is there any more armor coming onto the field? No, not for the Americans. This Stug is still here, and that's pretty darn good there. But this Focke-Wulf, I think, is coming in after this Bofors. Question, will he get the bomb off? And I don't think he did, folks. I don't think he did. By comparison to Pack 41, if the 88, that deadly 88mm is in the back of the German position, but not really too much of a concern, I would say, right now in terms of air cover. The Allies have thrown maybe 1 or 2 Thunderbolt rounds, missions in the last 8 minutes, I would say. And that's not gone particularly well either, now has it? Now, taking a quick look at Tigga's view, he knows pretty much where everything is. He may not know the finer points of the Allied position over here on his right, but here's way more than Loka Festivalo does. German air cover coming on in. No, just these ME-109s just kind of chilling around. Stug, another Stug comes onto the middle part of the field. He's going to come up and maybe push through the central line of the German attack. Meanwhile, over on his right, the German right, our left currently, Tigga's Stug is engaging one of the 37mm pop guns, and those things are decent enough at taking out light vehicles, but it's going to be awful tough to stand up to a assault cannon of that magnitude. Did just see a German unit get lost over here. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, Tigga doesn't find himself in too much of arrears. However, this Thunderbolt, I think, has some designs against this MG-34. Probably will take it down out. Bombs away. Flak 41 might get one more round off. Probably not. 1,200 meters. Nope, not even a prayer. But now we are in Phase C, where we could finally see some armor coming out for the 101st. Some significant armor from the beaches. And indeed, here comes that M4DD. They used to call it a death and destruction tank, but at the same time it was just called a dual drive tank with that DD. Amphibious vehicle coming on in, trying to put rounds down range. Question is, okay, he's going after the Pack 41. That's a good decision right there. That's probably the most concerning weapons platform in the area. Now it's LG-40 is firing round after round at that M4 Sherman, but is not doing enough to really even dent the paint on that thing. Kind of incredible. And for just a moment, we are going to see the Allies have a brief whisper of life. Of course, I say that as the Germans are throwing in more infantry, looking to clean up these rifles before they can cause too much more issue. LG-40 coming on forward. Question is, he's trying to get... Yep, he's trying to get line of sight on that Sherman. And it ain't gonna go well. Rifle's gonna be able to press them on back. That lovely EAR doing some work here. Focke-Wulf rounds come down, and there is this pin from that position. Mortar rounds, though, as well as the Bofors and maybe even the DD, do take out the LG-40. And the other one just kind of chilling over here on the side. But there's the +2, and that is going to be, I think, maybe even one of the last bits of life we are going to see from the Americans. Stug continues his indomitable march on forwards. He's completely out of HE ammo, but you know what? He still has 1,000 rounds of MG ammo, as does this L6 Panzer. Now, will the Jaegers be able to hold up against these engineers? No, looks like there's like a kind of assumed truce between the two. And that, my friends, is like about Ladung. My German is pathetic, by the way, so forgive me if I do kind of screw it up with my accent. Is that out of grenades? Yes, they are. They're out of grenades. Jaegers have come around, though, and that these guys might be disheartened, but they are not to be underestimated or outfought, for that matter. Mortar rounds are coming right back to try to hit the hammer, to hammer the German position, push them back. I don't think that's going to happen. And once again, I keep saying this, the second that we see a collapse, it's going to come all at once. Americans throwing down 4 squads of infantry, trying to stabilize the center, moving another... Ooh, an M20. Interesting. An M20 over here to the east to really try to support the alien position. As Pak-41's not able to get great line of sight, one if we could just shift over here slightly to our current right, maybe to about right here. You get a beautiful shot lining up against the DD Sherman. But the Axis now massively out-supplied against the Americans. 145 to 120 in Phase C here. And I'm surprised that we haven't seen any sort of munitions material coming on in for Tigga. Of course, I've cast a game of his or two before. He doesn't really seem to be a believer in that. Kind of strange. Anyway. A light mechanized push over here is doing some decent work, but I'm wondering if the Jaegers might come in around. No, okay, we're going to have a WC-25 sliding on forward with a machine gun. And here come... Whoa, 14 bombs going away. I missed that right there, unfortunately, but the Bofors is getting pressured. And that very brave M10, I think that was, gets taken out by the cannons of this Henkel 129. Now, this Junker coming on in has managed to drop off some more bombs. Now he's just kind of coming on around. And I don't think he's really going to be using his MG at all. I think he's just kind of swooping around just because. ME-109s could be making some gun runs over here if they wanted to. Doesn't seem like that's his first concern, though, so I guess that's alright. And I think that's going to be pretty much all she wrote, guys. Thunderbolt does get off the bombs. Yes, he does. Takes out the Pioneer Squad, and that gives a tiny bit of hope. But here we are. We just have so much coming in. M22 takes around to the engine. Excuse me. M22, I was right. Takes around to the engine block. That thing is destroyed, which means that the stroke could kind of just come on in ever so slightly and blown to pieces. Nope, not quite yet. Well, you know what? He's giving him a fair chance to run, to bail out, to do something. He doesn't want to, he wants to play with his food a little bit more, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Nope, never mind. He's not going to hit it. More anti-tank guns coming on in. I think these might be 57 millimeters. No, I don't think so. Never mind. But not that it's going to do a whole lot. Focke-Wulf, in the meantime, continues to dive on forwards. Might be able to clean this up with this massive bomb. Yep, there goes the mortar. These engineers are pinned down. And it's now 60% to 40%. The Germans just have a dagger jammed into the heart of the Allies here. Now, we do have one tiny bit of off-map artillery support that could be coming on in. Actually, 2 of them now. We see 2 203 millimeter Collins as an opportunity. Regardless, I think it's a little bit too late. Yeah. The 60%, man. Stroke driver does get knocked on out. And yeah, it's just 37 millimeters coming in, so not really too much to be too concerned about. And he's got another 7 rounds of HE. So pinned down 37 millimeter, which means that thing is not long for this world. And the second that the Germans realize what is over here, it's going to be hell to pay. And indeed, I think that he knows that. Which is why we are seeing that Bofors set on up in a very, very big attempt to not get shredded here. Now, TUT Mirage is being called on these Pioneers over here in this house, which is an interesting decision. Dudes are pinned in the first place. But very intelligently against these Jaegers here. Junker, though, got his bombs off? I believe he did. Yep, there it is. Exploding all over the place. ME-109s making gun runs like crazy. Trying to take out the 203s. Get rid of those Collins, but no, not going to happen. ME-109 taking some ground fire, but not too much to overly concern him. And all three of them just kind of dance away. Another ME-109, though. Jeez, I didn't even think he had 4 ME-109s, but he's just been calling in air power after air power. There goes one, so that's 2 airstrikes lost. And here comes another Bofors, it looks like. Yep. But that's not going to be able to stabilize the position. As we close into the final seconds of this replay, Tigga is just going to hold a line strong. He's throwing all of his aircraft in, trying to get rid of that last little bit of off-map support. Fails to do so. But now we have a Pac 40 coming in to throw rounds at the M4. Realizing that, that thing falls away. But congratulations to Tigga on the victory for this one. I don't recall actually how he did in the tournament, but this was definitely a lot of fun to look at. Having 2 kind of infantry-based divisions really be going at each other, and fairly vetted up opportunities as well. You can see around the middle part of the map, this German center just held like crazy, and they are just dominating everything. That intersection, well, it's completely a German area right now. And indeed, even these orchards back here have become fields of death. So the final score of about 1830, 1840 to 301, Tigga takes the victory. Thank you so much, folks, for tuning into this particular game. In just a second, we'll take a quick look at the biggest killer of the game. But Loka Festivalo does go and surrender. Taking a quick look at kills. What do you got? So Thunderbolt did a decent job. Bofors putting some pressure down, but not a whole lot there. And losses. So these Jaegers in the middle part of the field early on doing tons of work. Yep, the 37mm. I think these were the Jaegers that slid in and around the Allied position to immediately cause that first kind of cauldron battle. But nope, Pioneers at the end getting some work as well. So by the end score of 1842 to 301, Tigga takes it. Well done, Tigga. Bad, unlucky game, whatever you want to call it, for Loka Festivalo. And thank you so much, folks, for checking out this replay. If you have your own you want me to check on out, make sure if the current game view versions do change as updates do come out. But email me with either a link or with the replay itself at conovergaming@gmail.com. Thanks so much, folks, and I'll talk to you all soon. Take it easy, everybody.